Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I was just pogging at the merch that Chili Pepper has on. Don't you want to wear it too?
This video is a part 5, make sure to watch the previous parts first. The year is 2015. In the past year and a half, the A-Press count has been lowered by an incredible 80% from 208 to 43. The masters behind this achievement, Pan and Coic 2012 and Tyler Caney, didn't show any signs of stopping.
It's been a while since I heard that name.
A-Press was becoming harder and harder to save. Options started running out. Until they realized that all along they had been looking in the wrong reality. It was time for Mario to enter parallel universes.
After this one, there should be one more part, right? You said it goes to part 6?
Bob-omb Battlefield had been mostly solved for over 4 years now, ever since the 20-star Zero A-Press task. There was just one single A-Press left, but it was a tough one. Mario Wings to the Sky, with its coins high up in the air, always looked like one of those stars that would never be done in Zero A-Presses.
Because you have to click A for the cannon.
Flying without a triple jump or a cannon shot, both of which require an A-Press, and Wild Shell Hyperspeed could be used to reach the first 3 coins. Getting these 2 without flying was unthinkable. There was the outside possibility of using Goomba clones to reach the coins, but because of the exponential nature of Goomba bridges, that was quickly ruled out as impossible without a major
it would crash the game.
And a major breakthrough was exactly what happened. Just 1 week after spawning displacement, Pan and Coic shocked the world when he put to use the latest advancements in Goomba Engineering, the Goomba Cluster and Goomba Oasis. I mentioned before that when Mario throws an object, to help create a seamless transition during Mario's throwing animation, the object is warped to the hope but not to its exact position. To be more precise, the object is warped 32 units ahead of the hope in whichever direction Mario is facing. This means that if 2 objects are thrown remotely to the same hope while Mario is facing different angles, the 2 objects will end up at slightly different positions. Goombas with partially overlapping hitboxes can be interacted with one by one with the right positioning. This is called a Goomba cluster. In the past, a Goomba bridge had to be built by placing the hope for every Goomba, causing the amount of Goombas in a bridge to increase exponentially with its length. With this new key development, multiple Goombas could be released at the same hope but at slightly different angles, allowing the hope to be reused. Therefore, the bridge could be built by placing the hope only once for every step of the bridge. Any given step of the bridge only required 1 Goomba clone for every step beyond it, causing the amount of Goombas in the bridge to only increase quadratically with its length.
Yeah, it's not exponentially anymore.
8 that would have required 255 Goombas in the past only required 36
That's
now.
a big cut.
But 36 Goombas is still a high enough number that you can't build 2 of those bridges without crashing the game, so both coins had to be collected in one go. Just reaching the general area where the 4th and 5th coins were located wasn't enough. There needed to be something there to help Mario stay in the air long enough to maneuver between the 2 coins. This is where the Goomba Oasis came to save the day. The idea is actually fairly simple. Transport cloning moves the object to the halfway point between its original position and the hope laterally, but to the hope's Y coordinate. When the original object is a Goomba, its original position isn't always the same. Like most enemies, Goombas have a radius around their home in which they can run around freely. Therefore, even if the hope is fixed, 2 Goomba clones released via transport cloning can end up in different locations. In other words, for any given hope in a Goomba's home circle, transport cloning can move that Goomba to a circle half the size of the original, and halfway between the Goomba's home and the hope laterally, at the hope's height. More specifically, transport cloning could allow any amount of Goombas to be placed anywhere inside of this circle using one single hope.
That's pretty cool.
This is a Goomba Oasis. Here's exactly what Panin did. First, he needed to place the hope here at just about the 5th coin's height so that the resulting transport cloning zone would cover the space around the 4th and 5th coins. He did so by using 28 Goombas to build a Goomba bridge of length 7 using Goomba clusters. Once the hope was set in the correct spot, he could pause exit and re-enter the level to get rid of all of these Goomba clones. After collecting the first 3 coins with Shell Hyperspeed, he could start cloning Goombas again.
Oh, I
forgot. Goomba Oasis in this zone by transport cloning.
I forgot you could do it and then save and quit. Or save and
Those
whatever.
would help guide Mario between the 2 highest coins. If you look closely, you'll notice that because of transport cloning's limitations, the Goombas are all at the exact same height, which is the hope's Y coordinate. Then he built a Goomba
Yeah.
bridge of length 8 to reach this point from the top of the mountain using 36 Goombas. Once everything was in place, he could finally pull off this masterpiece.
That's
To
crazy.
reiterate, this
That's so
A-Press save
cool.
was made possible by the ability of the Goomba cluster and the Goomba Oasis to reuse one hope to place multiple Goomba clones, which greatly lowers the amount of clones needed to move the hope and build complex Goomba structures.
That is so cool.
Meanwhile, a tasser by the name of Kaiman showed something interesting to the ABC crew. In Dire Docks, if you end up holding a Whirlpool clone and release it, Mario will spiral around it and die. But if you release it right next to the loading zone and Mario crosses the plane as he's spiraling, the Whirlpool unloads and is replaced with another object. Mario will then spin around this new object. However, because most of the time this new object is very far away, the rotation quickly flings Mario out of bounds, killing him instantly. On paper, given an object far out of bounds at just the right place, it would be possible for Mario to spin into the pole that leads to this boxed red coin. But in reality, such a scenario simply wasn't possible, and so the idea, as promising as it was shelved. For about a couple of days.
For a
Kaiman
couple
had one clip that
days.
Tyler, Caney, and Panenkoic couldn't make sense of, where Mario ended up spinning wildly around the first area of the level. What didn't make sense was that Mario seemingly warped across the entire map before he started spinning. But then, Panen realized what was happening. The glitch isn't that Mario warps across the map, it's that he doesn't when he should. This is no translation loading. Levels are always contained within a square between negative and positive 8,192 in both directions. Dire Docks is bigger than that. This is why it's cut up into 2 rooms with a loading zone in between. The rooms occupy the same space in the coordinate system, so the end of the tunnel in the first room doesn't line up with the same point in the second room. When Mario crosses the loading trigger and the loaded area switches from one to the other, he needs to be translated to the same location in a new room. The offset happens to be 8,192 units, or half the size of the map.
Wow.
This translation happens every time Mario crosses the loading trigger, and it results in a seamless experience. Now, if Mario is spinning around a Whirlpool clone, he can end up crossing the loading zone in an unconventional way. The Whirlpool spins Mario towards out of bounds, but he crosses the loading zone, so he ends up inbounds in the new room. The game tries to translate him to match the new coordinate system,
But it's
doing
out of
so would
bounds.
place him out of bounds. Unlike the rotation from the Whirlpool,
Wow.
which can send Mario out of bounds, the loading zone translation can't put him out of bounds, so it chooses
Wonder if
not
there'll
to
be
move him
some
at all.
type of use
This
for
is
this.
how he ends up in the middle of the first room out of nowhere. Once he understood the implications of this discovery, Panenkoic got to work and used it
course.
to save the A-Press to reach the final red coin. He ended up finding a set of conditions that worked perfectly.
Oof.
First, he placed the hope in the second room in the point that corresponds to just outside of the tunnel in the first room. Then he remote released a Whirlpool clone using the hat in hand glitch. When Mario gets caught in it, he starts spinning towards out of bounds. As he crosses the loading zone, the translation failsafe is triggered, and so he ends up in the middle of this room. Now he would keep spinning around the Whirlpool, but it unloaded and was replaced by this cork box. Therefore, he now spins around this box on an arc that conveniently happens to pass right on the corner of this platform.
That's
Fortunately, Mario
wow.
touching the floor interrupts the spin, otherwise he would keep spinning to his eventual death. From there, he can reach the final red coin with no additional A-press. Note that for Mario to be able to swim with the shell and clone stuff, the A button needs to be held throughout, so the star went from 1.5 to 0.5 A-presses.
Nice.
Despite being well established in the A button challenge, the half A-press notation never failed to confuse new viewers. At the same time in Jolly Roger Bay,
I
Pam and
bet they
Tyler
did.
were
I didn't read this.
use new viewers.
How do you half an A press? An A press is an A press. You can't say it's only half. It is only a half.
At the same time in Jolly Roger Bay, Panon and Tyler were working on a way to pound the blue coin box without an A-press for the 100 coin star. They knew that a Goomba bounce would do the trick, but these Goombas' homes were too far from the box. Running into the Goombas could give a bit of extra distance, but not enough to make it possible. Until Tyler found a clever abuse of the Goomba's mechanics called the Goomba Chase Extension. A Goomba chasing after Mario will quit chasing him if it moves too far from its home, if Mario moves too far from its home, or if Mario moves too far from the Goomba itself. The Goomba chases Mario by setting its target angle towards him. However, if the Goomba walks into a ledge, a steep slope, a wall, or another Goomba, it recalculates its current target angle, which means it's no longer targeting Mario. After that, it turns until it faces the new target angle, then stops chasing. After carefully manipulating Goombas, Panin was able to get a Goomba to chase Mario, then run into the rock, then into the wall, then into the other Goomba. So before it has time to face its target angle, it runs into a new obstacle that causes it to recalculate its target angle and extend its chase. Finally, it runs close enough to the box that Mario can bounce on it and save an A press.
Oh my, that's so cool.
July 11th, 2015. Tyler Caney, while experimenting with the slopes in Hazy Maze Cave, famously discovered infinite speed with hyperspeed walking. Because he's walking uphill on a slippery slope, Mario accelerates backwards, but he's right up against the ceiling.
Yep.
Unlike walls, ceilings don't push Mario sideways out of their hitbox. If Mario is in the air and moves forward into a ceiling, that will result in a bonk. As a quick aside, ceiling hitboxes technically extend infinitely upwards unless there's a floor above them. The annoyance commonly referred to as invisible walls
Oh,
is
I
actually
hate
caused
this.
by exposed ceilings that don't have a floor directly above them, usually due to imperfect geometry. When Mario is on the ground and about
They're
to
so
enter a
annoying.
ceiling hitbox or out of bounds, he simply doesn't move at all. He still conserves his speed, but he looks like he's pushing up against something and he stays in place. This is what Tyler uses to accumulate hundreds of speed. The underside of the gate is a ceiling that prevents Mario from moving into it. Once Mario has enough speed to completely bypass the ceiling, he breaks out of this spot and zooms across the room into the water. Instead of the 500 speed that Plush achieved using the middle island, Mario now has 1700 speed. If Mario turns around so his back is against out of bounds, the speed can be built up infinitely instead. Immediately, this discovery was used to improve Watch for Rolling Rocks. This star had always had the problem of requiring Mario to reach one of the highest points in the entire level. Despite the ABC crew's best efforts, the intended wall kick strategy was still optimal, so it had been sitting at 2 A presses since the dawn of time.
Dang.
But this was about to change.
Big breakthrough?
With so much stored speed, Mario could simply do this.
Wow.
How does that work? Well, again...
Yeah, well, wait. Let me see. Let me watch that again. I'll try to explain how it works. How I think it works. We'll see if I'm accurate.
Change. With so much stored speed...
Okay, he hits the slope. So his speed was 1700. He slides forward. He reaches, I think, another slope. So he can jump dive. And then it keeps the momentum.
Mario could simply do this.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Let's see how accurate I was with that guess.
How does that work? Well, again, it's surprisingly simple. Mario exits water on Dory's slippery back, reactivating the stored sliding speed. Then he enters freefall and lands on the path. As he lands, he instantly jumps. I've mentioned this before.
Instant
but this
jumps
is now
conserve
critically
speed.
relevant. The vertical speed of Mario's jump is a function of his horizontal speed. The
Yep.
faster he goes, the higher he jumps. With 1500 speed, one jump gets him enough vertical speed to soar to the upper limit of the stage. But if he has so much speed, how come he jumps straight up? Because he dives. Like I said before, a dive increases Mario's speed by 15 up to a maximum of 48. Well, this 48 is a hard cap. If Mario's moving at 33 speed or higher and he dives, regardless of how fast he was going, his speed will be set to exactly 48. Even though Mario jumps and dives on the same frame, the initial vertical speed of his jump is calculated before the hard cap of 48 is applied to his horizontal speed, so he inherits this astronomical vertical speed while stopping his horizontal momentum before he smashes against the edge of the map.
That's so cool.
From there, Mario can slowly navigate above the level and fall onto the star, bringing down this relic
So
of the
I was
past
half
with
right.
one single A press.
I was half right.
With this new tool in hand, Hazy Maze Cave looked much more solvable than before. The stage was down to 3 A presses, in Watch for Rolling Rocks, Amazing Emergency Exit, and the Red Point Star. In order to make this newly found high speed in the cavern useful though, there needed to be a way to bring the speed up the level without jumping. The answer was simple, just take the elevator. But there was one problem. When Mario has this much speed, his next intended position is out of bounds, so he can't move. Mario ends up staying in place while the elevator moves through him, until Plush and Sonic Packer had something to say about it. When Mario's about to go out of bounds, only his horizontal displacement is cancelled, not his vertical movement. By kicking repeatedly, Mario moves up and can stay on the elevator at the cost of a bit of speed and a half A press. This allows Mario to go nearly anywhere in the level with a very high horizontal speed. Plush figured out a route that
Oh!
would carry Mario all the way up to Amazing Emergency Exit, but he ran out of speed a little too quickly and couldn't clip through the final door. Pan and Koic took over and optimized it just enough to make it possible and bring the star down to 0.5 A presses.
Okay, it was a half.
Meanwhile, the
Okay.
red coin star could get the same.
I was wondering why I said A press 1 the whole time.
Down
But
to
it's a half A
0.5
press, okay.
presses. Meanwhile, the red coin star could get the same treatment, but Panin needed a tiny bit of height to get past this gap and navigate to the red coin's room. It was time to ask his old friend the Scattlebug for help. Up until now, every enemy's home has always been a fixed point. This is true for Chuckya, Fly Guy, Goombas, Bob-Ombs, and Scuttlebugs alike. But there's an exception. If a Scattlebug runs into Mario, its home will move to its current position, effectively redefining the zone it can move in. This can happen infinitely many times, which means a Scuttlebug can move arbitrarily far provided that Mario has enough health to take a beating. Fortunately, there's a spinning heart right here. Unfortunately, Scuttlebugs can't travel across the entire level at will. They can't go through doors, so they're actually confined to their room. Here though, it wasn't necessary because Panin only needed the Scuttlebug to move close to the door. Then he gathered some speed, took the elevator up, and bounced on
he's gonna bounce. Oh, I muted it. He's gonna bounce, clip through the door, and oh, that's
the
so cool.
Scuttlebug to cross the gap and complete his trip to the red coin room. Another star brought
That's
to
so
0.5
cool.
A presses. The only star remaining was Watch for Rolling Rocks. Getting it down to 1 A press with hyperspeed had been relatively simple, but the task of bringing it to 0.5 was something else entirely. Although this platform could be reached like we saw earlier, it could only be ledge grabbed, which kills Mario's momentum. It also wasn't high enough. The Watch for Rolling Rocks platform is significantly higher. Panenkoek wasn't deterred. He still had a few ideas to make it work, including Tyler Caney's discovery of infinite speed with hyperspeed walking. It would require a lot more time and effort though, and so that star remained at 1 A press for the time being.
Yeah.
While it couldn't quite be used for Watch for Rolling Rocks, infinite speed in Hazy Maze Cave turned out to have an unexpected application. It was used to solve one of the very few remaining trivial A presses of the entire challenge, and what is perhaps the starkest contrast between the complexity of the 1 A press and the 0 A press strategy, entering the secret aquarium. Buckle up because this is a big one. First of all, how can speed in one level have any effect on the castle interior? Again, the key ingredient is sliding speed conservation. Swimming is a situation where sliding speed and horizontal speed no longer line up, but it's not the only one. During a stage transition like a death, a pause exit, or entering a pipe, the horizontal speed is reset to 0, but the sliding speed isn't. In almost every case though, the sliding speed is set to 0 immediately after the transition, so it makes no difference. But in the case of a pause exit, it's possible for Mario to crouch on the very first frame after the transition. When Mario is crouching, he automatically starts sliding if he has any momentum. So by crouching immediately after a pause exit with stored sliding speed, Mario can...
So that means, from what I saw, he was at the level of the hole in the wall. So he needs to probably exit from one of these doors or something. If I have to guess, something like that. So then he ledge grabs
sliding speed through the stage transition. However, exiting a stage with stored sliding speed is not as simple as it looks. Mario normally needs to be considered idle.
Oh,
for the
I forgot about
option
that.
to be available.
Okay, so wait. Does idle count as only set? What's the speed called? 16 feet. As only H speed. If H speed is 0, is that considered settled? I think that's gonna be how it works. Sliding speed probably doesn't matter. So he's gonna have to be in water to exit with some sliding speed,
in the
right?
first place. If Mario is idle, then he's by definition not moving. It is nonetheless possible in a few specific cases where either the sliding speed isn't being updated, such as when Mario is in water or holding onto a pole, or it hasn't had time to update, like on the first frame of a ledge grab, landing from a twirl, and a few others. Fortunately, Hazy Maze Cave has a lake, so Mario is able to accumulate some speed, then conserve it into the castle lobby with the pause exit while he's in the water. But how much speed does he need? Well, the answer is complicated. You see, the goal is to reach the ledge of the secret aquarium entrance.
You have to reach the ledge without clipping through? But you have to clip through the first door. Oh, that's gonna be difficult. Okay.
Without any vertical momentum to help. To do that, Mario needs to be moving from a high enough platform, but as it turns out, this ledge is the highest platform in the entire area. The only places high enough to be of any use are the one-up alcove across the room, the alcove to the princess's secret slide, and the hallway leading to Bowser in the Dark World. Between these, the hallway to Bowser in the Dark World is by far the easiest to reach, and everything else is too low to attempt a ledge grab from. Mario would need a very large amount of speed to travel pretty much instantly between those points, but it is technically possible. The problem now is reaching this point with that amount of speed. The only possible way of ascending up to the Bowser in the Dark World hallway is to go up the central stairs of the lobby. But with this much speed, Mario can't get up the stairs. He either gets stuck in place as he's trying to move out of bounds, or he zips through and into the hallway to the courtyard. Once his speed is low enough to climb the stairs, it can't be brought back up to do the ledge grab. This route looked impossible. So, Tyler, Caney, and Pan and Quick had to think outside the box. Actually, not outside the box.
Are they
outside the universe?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this where parallel universes is gonna come and play? Yup.
If you remember, a misalignment is a 1x1 unit square on the corner of a platform that exists because the floor detection function converts Mario's position from a 32-bit floating point number by rounding it down to a 16-bit integer. The limitations of 16-bit integers actually go both ways, both in precision and in scale. We've seen this with the water level overflow in Wet Dry World. If you add 1 to an integer's maximum value of 32,767, the variable wraps around to its lowest possible value, negative 32,768, and vice versa. What happened with the water level can also happen with Mario's position.
This is crazy.
Remember,
I forgot about
this
the water level.
conversion is only made specifically for the floor detection. Mario's actual position always remains a floating point number which can well exceed 32,000 up to basically infinity. If Mario's position exceeds the integer limit, when it comes to detecting if Mario has a floor under him, his position will be truncated to a number within the integer limit. Essentially, his real position and the floor detection position become disjointed. If the truncated integer position happens to line up with the floor, no matter how far Mario's actual position is, the floor detection function will say that yes, Mario is standing on the floor. But instead of thinking about it in terms of Mario having two different positions simultaneously, it's easier to think of it as there being infinite copies of the entire map's floors 65,000 units away in every direction.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that there isn't an actual copy of the floor out there. So long as the game believes there's a floor, Mario will be able to stand there. Functionally, there's no difference. These so-called infinite copies of the map are named parallel universes, or PUs for short. Because only the floor detection has this bug, parallel universes have no objects, no water, no walls, no textures, only floors and ceilings. The typical map size is roughly 16,000 units, so only about 1/16 of the total space is filled. Everything else is considered out of bounds and inaccessible. The only way to reach a parallel universe is to have so much speed that Mario travels this distance instantaneously in a single frame. Once Mario reaches a parallel universe, he must preserve this speed because if he loses it, there's no way to get it back and return to the main map. But in fact, just having 65,000 speed is not enough to go to a parallel universe. This is because of a quirk of Super Mario 64's physics. When Mario's trying to move, his movement is subdivided in 4 steps called quarter steps.
Oh,
For
so
any given frame, the game will check at each quarter
you're gonna need 4 times as much, probably. So instead of, what was it, 62,000, you're gonna need like
step of the way
24,800
for
or
any
something.
obstacles. Walls push Mario to the edge of their hitbox and allow him to keep moving, but ceilings and out of bounds prevent Mario from moving altogether. So if Mario only has enough speed to reach the first parallel universe, the game will actually check 1/4 of the way through and only find out of bounds, so he will not be moved. For Mario to be able to travel to a PU, he needs each quarter step to be on a valid floor. Therefore, he needs 4 times the speed, or 262,000, and will travel through 4 PUs in a single frame. This is called 1 QPU. Now if Mario has a speed that is an exact multiple of 65,536, his floor detection position, which we'll call his relative position, stays exactly the same. Pan and Quick called this the sinking speed, as in the speed where his position syncs up with the PUs. By deviating slightly from the sinking speed, Mario can travel relatively forwards and backwards. By turning ever so slightly, he can move relatively sideways, but even the tiniest angle changes end up greatly magnified over PU distances. This is the key to solving the movement to the Bowser in the Dark World hallway. If Mario achieves PU speed, he can have a relative speed that allows him to move slowly up the lobby staircase, then wait for his speed to go down until it drops low enough to travel in the main map from the hallway across the ledge. But the reality is a bit more complicated than that for two reasons. First, when Mario is moving with PU speed, he's traveling absurd distances. He needs to somehow be able to navigate these parallel universes in such a way that he's led back to the main map at the end. This problem can be solved with the right amount of planning, which, as it turns out, is a shit ton of planning.
Wow.
But the second, more concerning problem is the staircase. Well, actually, the problem is that this is not a staircase. Because of the properties of wall hitboxes, this staircase is too steep to be a series of individual steps. It would end up as a worse version of the staircase to the basement, which already has some odd behavior due to the steps being too close to each other. Instead, this is a slope, and like all slopes, it changes Mario's de facto speed. As a quick refresher, the de facto speed is the actual distance that Mario travels, which is a factor of the horizontal component of the slope he is currently on. The steeper the slope, the lower the de facto speed. Now, when Mario steps on the slope with PU speed, his lower de facto speed will cause him to attempt to move a shorter distance, which no.
So are they okay? My guess is that they're gonna have to go to like 16 or 64 or something, a multiple of 4 parallel universes away, because they're gonna have to step on the slope to get up it. And then it's gonna have to they're gonna have to stay on it an enough amount of time that it's another factor of 4. This is crazy.
And leaves him stuck in place. In other words, the sinking speed is not a fixed number. It depends on the steepness of the slope that Mario is standing on. The steeper the slope, the higher the sinking speed needed to keep the de facto speed constant. This specific slope has a sinking speed of 381,000. So now, Mario needs 262,000 speed to move onto the staircase, then 381,000 speed to move up the staircase, and back down to 262,000 to travel to the Bowser hallway. Once Mario leaves the hyperspeed walking spot, he can no longer gain any more speed. Again, we've run into a deal breaker. The solution? Simply build up more speed. Remember, hyperspeed walking allows Mario to speed up slowly but infinitely. So this is what Quick did. He doubled up the initial speed to 524,000 so that Mario could travel 2 QPUs per frame instead. After conserving that speed into the castle lobby, he could reach the staircase, then lower his speed down to 381,000, go up the slope, lower his speed again to 262,000, and move over to the Bowser hallway. Finally, with the right speed, he could snap back to reality right at the secret aquarium ledge and turn an incredibly simple A-press into an insane 25-hour marathon.
That's so cool.
Yes, you heard me right. 25 hours. Doesn't matter though.
Takes a long time. It's a task.
They saved the A-press, right? Right? Unfortunately, this strategy, which was obviously done on an emulator, was not possible on a real Nintendo 64. When Mario travels to a parallel universe, the camera tries to follow him, which crashes the console every time. Unless you use the option to hold R to fix the camera in place, in which case it is possible to navigate to a PU without crashing.
Why don't we do that then?
You can't fix the camera in the castle interior, so even that couldn't save them. Unlike everything that had been done thus far, this strategy could not be replicated on a physical Nintendo 64.
But
what about Wii Virtual Console? It is an official release, and it is an emulator. As it turns out, Wii VC does not crash when the camera moves to a PU, so this amazing A-press save could technically live on, so long as the challenge was to be done on the Wii Virtual Console release of the game, not on Nintendo 64. But there's one little detail I told you to keep in mind. Spawning displacement, used to save a re-entry A-press in Tick-Tock Lock, is a Japanese exclusive glitch. Does that mean the optimal A-button challenge was now limited to the Japanese VC release of the game? Surprisingly, no. In 1997, Nintendo released an updated Japanese version of the game with Rumble Pack support called the Shindo version, where backwards jumping was famously patched and Mario's voice ruined. This version also had all of the North American and PAL version fixes, including spawning displacement. The Japanese VC release is the Shindo version. Since no VC release can do spawning displacement, switching to VC to save an A-press lost a Tick-Tock Lock re-entry A-press save, ultimately resulting in no improvement. Therefore,
that sucks.
Despite this technically constituting an A-press save, it did not end up lowering the A-press count. In the meantime, Panenkoic's YouTube channel was starting to garner a lot of attention. His most popular content wasn't the A-Button Challenge, but unrelated, usually commentated videos about interesting discoveries like collecting the fabled impossible coin or exploring the secrets of the mystery Goomba. He began to cement his place in the YouTube sphere as an expert Super Mario 64 scientist, but nothing he had published before got
He's
as
definitely
much press
that.
and public attention than the TikTok clock upwarp. The story goes like this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the one that oh my gosh, this was solved, at least solved from what I know, by Veritasium. This is a clip of doing TikTok clock. Someone just randomly upwarps like a certain amount of units. From what I know, it's because of a cosmic rays. They come from space. It hit the guy's game. I don't know if he was running on emulator or console, but it hit that. It ticked a bit from 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, and then it ticked him up. That's why I know about it.
Stumbled upon an old Twitch video from 2013 of a speedrunner named Dota Teabag who saw Mario inexplicably warp significantly upwards in TikTok clock. This was potentially groundbreaking because an upwarp of this magnitude that seemingly didn't require the A button could reshape the future of the A button challenge, particularly in TikTok clock of all places. The potential was so huge that Panen decided to put a $1,000 bounty for whoever could replicate the glitch in an emulator and provide an input file that could be analyzed to make sense of this anomaly. Money speaks, and so thousands of people, for the most part completely inexperienced, haphazardly smashed their face against the wall, hoping for the golden ticket to the top of the clock. There was little information to go by other than a somewhat mediocre quality video, but with such a revolution right around the corner, the collective motivation to crack the mystery was enormous. Countless news articles were written about it. Even as recently as 2021, Derek Muller from Veritasium covered the subject in a video with over 13 million views. But as time went on, with no one managing to get anywhere
but he
close
solved
to
it in that
replicate
video, right?
the ABC crew realized that there had to be another explanation. Years after the fact, the commonly accepted explanation is a hardware malfunction causing a bit flip at Mario's vertical position.
Yeah, that's
Flipping a specific bit in the position in similar conditions achieves just
Yeah,
about
that's
the
what
same exact
Veritasium
result
said.
as was observed back then. The popular explanation is a cosmic ray, but the exact cause behind the bit flip is impossible to know for sure. As promising as it initially looked, this discovery ended up shelved as a one-off hardware issue that could not be used in speedruns or the A-Button Challenge.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, there was still one TikTok clock discovery that ended up crucial for the challenge, the Pedro spot. Originally found in Cool Cool Mountain by Pedro Victor in November 2014, a Pedro spot is a point where a floor and a ceiling meet in a very specific way. When Mario lands onto a Pedro spot, he would snap up to the floor, but that point is inside the ceiling hitbox, which prevents him from moving. The landing action happens before the collision with the ceiling, so Mario doesn't bonk on it. But since Mario is prevented from moving, he stays suspended in midair. From this odd double
he
state,
gaining
he
speed?
can both jump and ground pound. But also, he can build up forward speed without moving, similarly to hyperspeed walking. This is limited by the geometry around him. At high enough speeds, he ends up breaking out of the spot. With no ability to turn or otherwise redirect Mario's speed, Pedro spots are a bit limited in what they can achieve.
Oh yeah, but the one on TikTok clock has nothing behind it, except for parallel universes, right? So that
When Caney found a Pedro spot here in TikTok clock, he realized it had excellent potential to bring Stomp on the Thwomp's 7 A presses down. Mario couldn't get in position by himself, he needed the Bob-omb to push him into place. The clock also had to be on the still setting, which meant that the spinners typically used to travel up the clock with the Bob-omb in 0 A presses could not be used. Instead, 4 A presses were required to jump up, and instant release was used to place the Bob-omb out of bounds to be reactivated near the cogs. At first glance, that seems terrible, but what comes next more than makes up for it. Mario uses the Bob-omb to push himself into the Pedro spot. Once he builds up over 800 speed, he's ready to do a jump dive. Again, with so much speed, he jumps extremely high, but the dive caps his forward speed at 48 instantly. That's enough to get all the way up to the top of the clock, where one final A press gets him the star and brings Stomp on the Thwomp from 7 down to 6.
You can't manage to do that without that second A press, really?
Forward speed at
oh yeah, I guess the angle's just not good enough.
That's enough to get all the way up to the top of the clock, where one final A press gets him the star and brings Stomp on the Thwomp from 7 down to 6 A presses. In response to the ever-increasing interest for his commentated videos, Pan decided that A-Button Challenge improvements should have accompanying explanations with voice commentary, so he made one for Stomp of the Thwomp. He carefully broke down every element of the strategy for casual viewers to understand: the hope, instant release, the out-of-bounds failsafe, the pedal spot, and the high-speed jump dive. It was received with high praise and excitement by his growing fanbase. In June 2015, Pan was exploring Scatterbug Transportation and trying to get a Scattlebug to go through it.
I just want to say, it's crazy how broken this game is. It's a beautiful game. Speedrunning it is immaculate. It's fantastic. It's a broken game, though. It's super broken, and it leads to awesome stuff like this.
His attempts proved mildly successful. He was able to get one Scattlebug to clip through a door, but then it was stuck next to the door and would deactivate as soon as Mario stepped away. While playing around with this, Pan found that he could get the Scattlebug to jump up repeatedly by running in and out of its activation zone. He had discovered Scattlebug Raising. The way
it could be something useful to like Goomba jumping.
It works is similar to the mechanics abused for the Chuckya drop and Fly Guy manipulation. In levels with multiple rooms, the inside of a room is only loaded when Mario is in it or when he's standing close to a door leading to it. Therefore, a Scattlebug in one room gets deactivated as soon as Mario steps away from the door outside of that room. This was used before in Metalhead Mario Can Move. Similarly to the Fly Guy and Chuckya, a Scattlebug also has a limited range of actions when it's deactivated. Although it won't move, it can still turn and lunge at Mario if he enters the radius around its home. Once the Scattlebug is reactivated, it will perform that lunge. If Mario deactivates the Scattlebug in the middle of the lunge, it will stay in midair. Then, another lunge can be triggered, and the Scattlebug can jump again when reactivated.
That's so cool.
This process can be repeated indefinitely, and the Scattlebug can jump up arbitrarily high. This development seems relatively insignificant. It's anything but that. The final piece of the puzzle was in place. The last Hazy Maze Cave A-Press was ready to be taken off.
Yes!
Watch for rolling rocks and 0.5 A-Presses was possible. The entire route is a culmination of every discovery made in the past year. First, Scatterbug Transportation was used to move the Scattlebug below the platform where the star is. Then Scatterbug Raising was used to make it jump up. The exact position of the Scattlebug's home is crucial here. The cylinder around its home partially intersects with the area near the door where the Scattlebug is activated. Mario can enter the radius without activating the Scattlebug, which triggers a delayed lunge. Then, as Mario steps out of the home cylinder, the Scattlebug turns back towards its home. When Mario reactivates the Scattlebug, it lunges past its home. When the process is repeated, the Scattlebug now turns the other way to jump back towards its home.
That's so cool.
As it jumps back and forth, the result is it moving straight up over time. Once the Scattlebug is in the correct position, Pan moves on to the next part of the plan. He goes to the lake and builds up speed with hyperspeed walking, making sure to redirect it out of bounds. He builds up speed for 12 hours until he has 479,000. Using the properties of de facto speed, he's able to navigate up the path to the elevator using floor triangles with decreasing steepnesses so that the sinking speed gradually comes down over time. Remember, objects aren't present in parallel universes, so Mario needs to return to the main map to board the elevator. This was made complicated by QPU alignment. In short, while Mario has enough speed to travel 4 PUs in one frame, he doesn't necessarily complete all 4 quarter steps of his movement action. Mario only moves up to the last valid quarter step in a frame. If a quarter step leads him out of bounds because the slope changed or because he's not quite at the sinking speed, he can end up moving by a fraction of his total speed. Doing so misaligns him with regular full frame movements, and he has to do another partial movement to get back to the main map. The PU navigation had to be painstakingly planned out so that everything would line up in the end. Just like last time, Mario uses repeated kicks to activate and to stay on the elevator.
There's so much that goes into these. It's so cool though.
Travels to a PU and back to effectively warp across the map. This second elevator takes him up to the highest point he can reach. Pan sets up his position in parallel universes in preparation for the final move, and then he returns to the main map on the Scattlebug that he previously positioned so that he can bounce on it. This actually still isn't enough to reach the platform, so he places himself in a precise spot and ground pounds into a misalignment at the corner of the platform. And this is watch for rolling rocks and 0.5 A-presses, the final A-press in Hazy Maze Cave gone.
That's insane.
As soon as
That's so crazy.
Everything together for this A-press save, he knew it had incredible potential for a detailed explanation with commentary and visuals. However, college was taking up his time, and so despite figuring out all the steps to do the star in October, he didn't actually work on the project until the holidays. When Christmas came, he realized that while planning and testing such a complex star already was a time-consuming and energy-draining process, creating this behemoth of a video explanation turned out to be even more taxing. But the project had already been shelved for 2 months, so with college starting again in 2 weeks, he decided to press on. He pressed on. He had to get it done. He worked tirelessly day in, day out. But in the end, he pressed himself too hard. Panenkoek was in a terrible mental space. He was struggling through issues in his personal life, and working on this video was not an escape, it was a purgatory. In the end, what should have been a passion project turned out to be the canalization of his own mental suffering. He completed the entire task and the accompanying video in about 140 hours over 2 short weeks. He should have been immensely proud of his work. He didn't feel pride. He didn't feel accomplished. He felt nothing. Panen was used to his videos going viral, but nothing could prepare him for what would become of Watch for Rolling Rocks. As it went viral, it instantly exposed the A-Button Challenge to hundreds of thousands of people for the first time in their lives. These viewers' first impression of the A-Button Challenge was this. The incredibly thorough 24-minute piece was approachable yet utterly unbelievable. It was so many levels beyond what anything these people had ever seen that they couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Scattlebug Transportation, half A-presses, building speed for 12 hours, parallel universes, QPU alignment. Every single concept of the video seemed like made-up nonsense and some over-the-top absurdist humor. Yet all of it was real.
Yeah.
Watch for Rolling Rocks in 0.5 A-presses rapidly became not just a meme but a family of memes that played on the chasm between casual gameplay and top-level speedruns or tool-assisted runs. The ABC crew members were not just geniuses, they were the gods of Super Mario 64. To this day, the video has over 4 million views, and the memes that stemmed from it made their way into unexpectedly far reaches of the internet. Meanwhile, Panenkoek spent the winter semester mentally recovering from his breakdown during the holidays. Part of that recovery process was establishing that the pressure he was putting on himself to always improve the production value of his channel was destructive. He realized that this mindset would ultimately lead him into a spiral of ever-increasing workloads until nothing would ever get done again. With the unprecedented success of the latest ABC video, public pressure on him to keep creating similar content was mounting. Memes about half A-presses and Scatterbug jamborees were parroted in every comment section of not just his videos, but pretty much every Super Mario 64 video out there. Panenkoek was being reminded of the video and its nightmarish production cycle at just about every corner. His mental scars were still fresh, so he knew there was no way he would make anything at the scale of Watch for Rolling Rocks until he would actually feel ready to undertake the project. It's widely believed that the memes were the reason Panenkoek quit making commentated videos, but they actually were a tiny factor in the equation. The main reason behind it is quite simply that he doesn't enjoy making voice commentary, and making such videos represented too much tedious work unless they were exceptionally worth it. So, after releasing that video, he decided to switch his mindset. A-Button Challenge videos would go on his secondary channel, which he renamed Uncommentated Panen, and where he felt zero pressure to make high-effort content.
Hey, good.
The first step was to release a bunch of ABC improvements he had been holding on to since the discovery of Scattlebug Raising in October until he could get around to making commentated explanations. So on January 13, 2016, he dumped 5 improvements at once, then went relatively inactive in the A-Button Challenge for the better part of the year, instead focusing on glitch documentation and explanation videos on his secondary channel. Every improvement from Panen's backlog stemmed from the discovery of Scattlebug Raising. It helped eliminate the half A-press left and the 2 other Hazy Maze Cave stars that used hyperspeed and elevators.
Oh wow.
First, amazing emergency exit, solved by raising a Scattlebug for half an hour until it would jump into the right spot for Mario to bounce across to the stop, and second, the red coin stop.
That's crazy.
He could manipulate it from the first room, but only if the Scattlebug was in the perfect position. To get it in the perfect spot, he had to go down in the red coin's room. To go back to the first room, he needed to cross this gap in no A-presses. Thankfully, 2 Scuttlebugs could be transported over, and Mario could bounce on them both to go back to the red coin's room. From there, just 1 hour of Scatterbug Raising was sufficient to have the Scuttlebug fall on Mario to dismount the pole, saving another half A-press.
Wow.
The other applications of Scatterbug Raising were in Big Boo's Haunt, and they were a bit more involved. Here, one A-press was left to grab the star in the merry-go-round, and one was required to reach the top floor of the mansion for both Big Boo's balcony and eye-to-eye in the secret room. Let's start with Big Boo's merry-go-round.
I forgot there was
Panin got a
scuttlebugs on this
Scatterbug
map.
into a specific spot against the side of the mansion with Scatterbug Transportation. Then, by alternating between going near the Scattlebug to get it to turn around and activating it by standing by the front door, Panin was able to raise the Scattlebug. How much does he raise it, do you ask? Well, only about 10 times. Sorry, 10 hours. After 10 hours, the Scattlebug is so high up that it has entered a vertical parallel universe.
Oh my
Vertical
gosh.
parallel universes, or VPUs for short, function slightly differently than regular PUs
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Here, it's the vertical position that overflows rather than the horizontal position.
Well,
The
yeah.
result is different for Mario than it is for enemies, so let's look at what happens specifically to the Scattlebug when it reaches a VPU. When the position initially overflows, the Scattlebug's floor detection doesn't find any floor under itself, so its behavior becomes a bit more erratic. Instead of turning towards Mario, it spins in place. Panin can still keep raising it just fine despite that limitation. Once it gets even higher, it reaches the mansion relatively in the VPU, but floors and ceilings are not solid, so it can keep raising through and above the virtual map. Once it's high enough, Panin reactivates the Scattlebug and it jumps down. Again, because floors and ceilings are not solid in VPUs, the Scattlebug goes through the level and into the basement, where it collides with the wall. Contrarily to regular PUs, VPUs do
That's
have
so
solid
cool.
walls, and they have a peculiar property. When the Scattlebug collides with the wall, it gets snapped to the wall's height in the main map. To summarize, the Scattlebug is raised for 10 hours until it enters a vertical parallel universe so it can fall through the floor and reach a position relative to the merry-go-round in the basement. Then, it collides with a wall that snaps it back to the main map. At the same time, Mario leaves the Scattlebug's activation range, so it stops moving there. When Mario enters the merry-go-round, the Scattlebug remains deactivated because it's hard-coded to belong to the outside of the mansion, no matter where it actually is. Despite being
yeah.
deactivated and invisible,
can still be
the
bounced on,
Scattlebug
right?
is still tangible, so Mario can bounce on it and reach the star.
Wow.
The other application of Scatterbug Raising was to reach the highest floor of the mansion. The idea is quite similar, but instead, 3 different Scuttlebugs
Panin
are moved
Coic's
to roughly
insane.
the same location
In a
and
good way.
simultaneously raised for 13
It's so
hours
cool.
into a VPU. After reactivating them, Panin precisely guides them into the room leading to the top floor, where they collide with a wall that snaps them back to the main map. After a little bit of additional manipulation, he's able to stagger them in a staircase leading to the upper ledge. Again, because the Scuttlebugs belong to the exterior, when he goes near them, they're invisible and stuck in midair, but they are still tangible. Instead of a side flip and 2 bookend bounces, Panin Coic uses 1 bookend to get up on this step, then the other bookend and the 3 carefully positioned Scuttlebugs to reach the top floor and save the 2 final A-presses in Big Boo's haunt.
That's so cool.
During 2016, despite the relative inactivity of the ABC crew, thanks to the universal acclaim of Watch for Rolling Rocks, the A-Button Challenge saw a large influx of fans eager to contribute to new strategy developments. The crew grew larger and larger, but so much work had already been done that it would take a long time for newcomers to start making any meaningful progress. Or maybe all it took was just to look at the star with a
fresh
pair of
mind.
eyes.
Yeah.
I've left the best improvement for last, Wing Mario over the rainbow.
And this
style
one's
was
not by
famously
Panin
used by
Coic, huh?
Panin Coic as an example to demonstrate the half A-press notation. 2 A-presses were very clearly needed to shoot the cannon twice in order to get all the red coins, but in order to reach the first cannon, a half A-press was also required so that Mario would fall down slower to the cannon platform. Until Super Mario 64 Expert, SM64 Expert, found this. Yep, that's it.
That's so
Instead of just
simple.
running up, if you do a dive recover before the slide kick, you have just enough speed to make it without the slower fall. Near the end of 2016,
It's funny. The newcomer found a save, and it's so simple, which makes sense. He's a newcomer. He's not gonna immediately be able to use all these parallel universes, Scatterbug Rising, and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
the A-press count was now at 32. Exactly half of those were for TikTok Clock alone, and the other half for the rest of the entire game. What used to be just a small group of friends calling themselves the ABC crew was now a full-blown community. Millions of people had heard of the A-Button Challenge. Tens of thousands were following developments closely, celebrating each new Panin Coic upload, even if it was all on his secondary channel by then. This was the dawn of the modern era. an era defined by the seemingly hopeless uphill battle of solving Tick-Tock Clock.
Oh my gosh, is the next one gonna be solving Tick-Tock Clock? I'm excited. I'm super excited. Real Jeff Bezos. Fantastic as always, Bismuth. Fantastic.